All right, we're recording.
Well, good morning, everyone. We're glad you could join us for this webinar on the local evaluations for 2020-21. And good news is we're not changing the GEPRA measures for this round. And of course, the bad news is we'll have to do some training later on for the next round of GEPRA measures and how that might affect what data you're going to collect next year. Next. And instead of going step by step through the template, which we think you probably all could do by this stage of the game, we want to go look at the do's and don'ts for your local evaluation. We will definitely be available if anyone needs any help with the template, but it's the same basically as last year.
Yeah. And some of the things we're going to go on over this, some do's and don'ts. We're going to talk about accuracy a little bit. We're going to talk about your attendance. We're going to talk about your academic and the other measures of student achievement. We're going to talk about your local objectives a little bit. We're going to talk about your partnerships. And we're going to talk about your parental involvement. Wow, that was a mouthful, wasn't it?
Yes.
And then we're going to talk about the anecdotal data that we think is very important.
Oh, accuracy. In the past, occasionally, and I'm going to emphasize occasionally, we've had problems with everything matching, and the yearly evaluation shares the data from the entire state. So we put it all together, but before we put it together, we want to make sure that it's accurate. And the big thing, of course, is you can read the slide. I don't need to tell you that, but everything has to match. The APR, your local evaluation, and the data in the end of your survey. Yeah. Most of the time, I don't know, I don't have a percentage for you, but most of the time it does match. Just occasionally we have to contact someone about why things don't match. So yeah, just be careful. And again, when you're gathering the data, make sure that you use the same data everywhere. Occasionally, the first maybe two places like the APR and the local evaluation are fine. But then when we look at the end of your survey, there's a discrepancy or two. Yeah. So just, again, be careful with what you're doing and what you're using. Our suggestion, as you can see there, is whatever data or document that you're using to collect the data, be sure and use the same thing for APR, local evaluation, end of year, so forth.
Now, y'all have some nice spreadsheets that have been developed.
Yes.
Most people use for their APR. Just keep that document because you'll be using that same document for your local evaluation and the end of year survey, and then they'll all match.
Correct. And check for accuracy. I hate to tell you this, but we're going to too. Yeah. We're going to divide or look at the percentages and the total numbers, everything. And occasionally there are discrepancies. Sometimes it's just in a hurry to get things done. Sometimes it's other reasons. But we are going to check that because we want it to be accurate, the state evaluation to be accurate. We want it to show the best data possible. So just do the math. Being an old math teacher, yeah, I like that one. And then check it. Review it. When the evaluator has finished writing the local evaluation for your particular program, double check everything before you submit it to us. Because yeah, I guarantee you, we are going to check everything. If we don't, Vic gets mad at us.
Yeah, we've seen a few, maybe not even in Iowa, where it's obvious the director didn't even look at the evaluation. The evaluator gave it to them, they just sent it in, because if they had, we know they would have found some things.
So just double check. And then who actually came and participated in your program? Very important. Lots of people look at this.
Yeah, this is one of the biggies.
And again, don't want to belabor the point too much.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We do want to belabor the point.
Check everything for accuracy,
Yeah.
because we'll go look at the whether the male and female add up to the total numbers. We'll look at ethnicity, and if all of it comes out correctly and all those kinds of things. And please, well, I think that's on here. Yeah, gender and ethnicity. So it all matched the total. We will add it and double check it and make sure. So again, just be careful.
Fortunately, Rusty's an old math teacher, so he can add in his head.
And I can do calculators too. Oh, and then a real biggie, we saw a lot of this last year, and it's great so that we can report on this, that if you're serving more students than the 21st Century Funds, talk about that.
Yeah.
Pat yourself on the back. Tell us why you're able to serve more students.
Right.
Because that looks really great in the overall state evaluation, to be able to state that and show that the money from the federal government is being put to great use there in Iowa.
Yeah, one of the things you should definitely check, double check, is your FERPL numbers, your free and reduced price lunch students.
Yes.
Because that's, because the 21st Century program was designed to serve underserved students, that's one of the things that they look at. So, and you're supposed to have at least 40% FERPL.
Mm-hmm.
So check it. If you only have 38, maybe you missed a few students, and that would bump that up for you.
Let's go back and check again.
Yeah.
And then the big thing that the federal government wants to see done is the GEPRA measures.
Yeah. And we know they're changing, but right, for this evaluation, this is the last year of the Big 14.
Right. And so you're used to that, but just double check everything. Don't leave anything blank, except if you have an elementary program, you're going to leave the secondary, the middle and high school blank.
Mm-hmm.
We understand that. Just leave it blank.
Yeah.
We know what your program is serving, what grade levels.
And we know that because you tell us.
Yes.
If you don't tell us, we don't know that.
So do what's necessary. Figure it out. The GEPRA measures, when we report on them, you're supposed to use state assessments to give us the numbers. However, Vic is really good about approving other measures.
Yeah.
And you can contact him. Grades, if you have local evaluations instead of state evaluations of some kind, local tests, those kinds of things. But before you use those, please contact Vic and let him know what you're using so he can say, yes, I approve that. Go for it.
The assumption is you're going to use state assessments.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure you check those and see.
And we realize that there's been problems with that in the past with COVID and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
We're crossing our fingers that it's going to not get in the way this year, but we'll see.
And in case you're wondering, we thought we would, Cassie has raised her hand.
Yes, I have a question regarding the ISASP data. Is it preferred that we look at 2019 spring and 2021 spring, or more local measures like iReady or something of that nature? Any guidance on that?
That would be a Vic question.
Yes.
I can answer that. First off, even though the assessment is back up, we're reporting a year behind. So we're reporting in the year where we didn't have that state assessment. And if you go into the APR, you'll see that I've checked all the boxes for you to use. So you can use an alternative assessment because we're reporting for the period during the pandemic.
Right.
You can use grades, or you can use, last but not least, you can use teacher assessments of students. So, we want to give you every opportunity to be able to put data in this APR, because when Congress looks at that, that's what determines whether our funding continues. So we want to make sure we're getting data in there, no matter how we get the data in.
Cool. Did that answer your question, Cassie?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. In case y'all are interested, we thought we would show you last year, the 1920 evaluation. Here's how many measures were left blank. And we were pleasantly surprised, because with COVID going on, we assumed that a lot of people would leave the academic achievement measures blank, but very few did. We were a little concerned on the improvement in class participation and homework completion, student behavior on the teacher surveys, and you had difficulty with that. And sometimes it's always difficult to get teachers to do something extra. Although I guess you could go to those teachers and say, this is a federal program, you're required to do this, We think a better approach is to buddy up to those teachers.
Yeah.
Let them understand how the program's helping them. We recently did a training in another state. One of the directors of a program there, they actually have a raffle. I don't know what they give away, but every teacher that fills out the surveys gets entered in the raffle, and they have a prize to, just a little incentive to try to get those surveys in. So if anybody else has suggestions on the best way to get the teacher surveys completed, please share that. That would be a good thing for people to know.
Yeah. And the flip side of that coin a little bit is, in the discussion about GEPRA measures, if you were not able to get the teacher surveys, discuss that. Tell us why.
Yeah.
And that way we can put that into the overall state evaluation. Yes, they did try, but because of these reasons, some were not able to get these GEPRA measures 11 through 14.
And what that allows us to do, everybody gives a discussion on it. Perhaps there's a common thread running in there that needs to be addressed overall, rather than just a specific problem to your program.
And again, we know that the next round of local evaluations will be changing
to
the 5.
But they're still going to have a survey.
Yeah.
So
on the end of it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let me comment on the new survey that's coming up. That new survey, it will be looking at student engagement at the elementary level. And we're going to be able to include not just it'll be program focused. So if the teacher's in the program, they'll get the survey. And we'll also enable staff who are working with kids to do this survey. So we're going to probably have much more accurate results.
Cool.
Yay.
Accuracy counts. Wait a minute. Didn't we say that somewhere?
Yeah.
Let's talk about local objectives for a minute.
Yeah.
We have some suggestions for you. Anytime, my experience and Rusty's experience, anytime a school district adds a new program, it's like, oh, this is going to be the answer to all our problems. And they put a whole lot of objectives. We're going to do good on this and this and this. We think you need to calm down. We suggest not having more than 5 local objectives. If you have more than that, it's just going to make it more difficult to gather data, and then it becomes, and a lot of times we see them that are redundant. They'll have 8 objectives and 2 or 3 of them are really the same objective reworded a little bit. And
please,
yeah, there's no reason for you to have a local objectives that mirrors GEPRA measures. The GEPRA measures is what the feds look at really closely. So there's no reason to do that. GEPRA assesses math, has measures for math and reading/language arts. There's no reason for you to also have those in your local objectives.
Yeah.
If you want to put a student achievement in your local objectives, look at other areas, science, some other area that goes on. And it's,
so it depends on what your program is
right.
stressing and working on with the students.
And I thought I put a graphic. I didn't notice that was one that you have to buy. I apologize for that. That shouldn't be there, that dreams thing.
Oh, yeah.
And make your objectives benchmarks reasonable.
Yes.
We read lots of objectives where it says 95% of the students will, gosh, only 80% made it. Well, 80% is really good.
Yeah.
So we suggest in most cases, you should just say a majority of the students, more than 50% will succeed.
Yeah.
And do it that way. And just a minute, I wasn't through with that. One of the things that, I don't know if y'all remember several years ago back in the PPIX days, some researchers, and I use the term loosely, simply took, at that time, the programs reported how many objectives they had and all their ratings. And a lot of people, as we've been taught, had goals that were pretty high, because that way, if you're making the goal, maybe you should make it harder. Yeah. Well, their conclusion was most of the goals, the objectives are not being met. Therefore, the program is a failure and we should cut funding.
Yeah.
So we don't want to fall into that trap again. So make sure you do your ratings and methodology in the chart that's provided. I'm sure y'all know that there's 4 ratings. You can meet the objectives. You can not meet it, but make progress. You can not meet it and you didn't make any progress, or you were unable to measure that objective. In your discussion, you must tell us how come you didn't meet it and didn't make any progress, especially. And if you didn't measure it, that's a biggie to say. We understand last year, COVID caused some problems, but we have some, maybe not necessarily in Iowa, that year after year, they have the same objective and they never measure it. You need to change that objective if that's the case, if you can't measure it.
Okay, and partnerships, very important for many reasons. One is to help support your program. And another big one is to look forward if funding ever dries up from the federal government. Your partnerships are what are going to help you support the program and continue working, doing the great work you're doing with the kids in Iowa.
Some of the dues for partnerships, this is one.
Yeah, to use the correct type, because yes, we do check that. And look on the ones like full and partial, that there are dollar amounts with those. A vendor, there is no dollar amount because you're purchasing services from a vendor. So just, again, be careful, be accurate, and look at exactly what type of partnership it is.
Yeah, and in the discussion section, that's your chance to basically brag on some of your partners.
Yes.
Look at all the partners we have. We're doing great. They're helping us serve 50% more students than the grant would normally allow. We get discounts. They send volunteers. It's important to describe those partnerships. And Christine Carlson has a question.
Yeah, I was wondering about when we had the COVID, none of my community partners could come into the building. So I still had them as partners, but we didn't get to do anything. And we tried the Zoom thing, and a few of them were able to do that, but it really took a hit as far as my partners were concerned. And I'm wondering about that information.
Yeah,
well, I can address that.
Go ahead, Vic.
All right, think about your relatives. And for me, the example was my grandkids. I got 6 grandkids. I didn't see them during COVID. It was about 18 months that I was unable to visit with them. didn't mean that they were not going to be my grandkids anymore. It just meant that, you know, I had to use other means of communicating, doing a video call, telephone call, text message, so that we could stay in touch. And then finally, I was able to do a visit this summer, and it was, you know, wonderful to reconnect. So you've got to do the same thing with your partners. Just because the COVID kept us apart doesn't mean that they're no longer your partner and you want to reconnect with them. You want to do everything possible. Send them an email and say, thank you for remaining our partner during this difficult time. You want to give them a phone call. You know, some of these partners may be able to help financially. Some maybe not, but you know, there's a lot of different kinds of partners. You should keep in regular contact with all of your partners, because that's just good for kids and good for our future as a program. Okay.
Yeah.
And I would add that
I'm sorry, I'd like to just add one more thing to that. So one trend that I saw in the community partnership documentation that was recently sent is a lot of partners provided like meal kits or take-home activities or something of that nature. So again, if they were maybe not doing that direct service with the kids in the building, they were still contributing to your program in some way, shape, or form. Another really common item was like books. They did a book drive and they sent books home with kids or things of that nature. So try to think of those things then too. And thank you. Pardon for the interruption there.
Oh, that's fine.
problem.
That's the types of things we like to put in the state evaluation.
Yeah,
about how partners are assisting the programs.
Yeah, and I would add that a good discussion maybe for 2021 in that is how you reconnected with those partners.
Yeah.
And how, you know, we had this partner that couldn't come to school last year. They really stepped up and came right back and helped us. So be sure and tell us those type of things. Let's talk a little bit about, here's some possible discussions. Here's examples of some things we saw in last year's evaluations in the partnership discussion, you know, that these are the kind of things that you might want to talk about. This is just 3 examples we pulled out. These are directly from last year's state evaluation. So, you know, you can find these there. Y'all can contact each other and maybe help each other come up with those. So we won't read those to you, but we thought you might like those.
Instead of just telling you that you have to do something, part of this today is to give you some examples or samples so that you can look at and think, oh, yeah, we could write something like that.
And let's talk about parental involvement.
Oh, yes.
You know, schools struggle with parental involvement all the time. And some don't. You know, it's almost a culture thing to get more dads and dads. But as far as the logistics of it, you know, you're required to have so many parental events. Most of you have more than that, which is great. You need to keep better attendance overall. Not everybody is bad, or doesn't do this, but try to keep better attendance. Use a sign-in sheet, have someone counting attendance. And when you report it, you know, tell us the number of parent events and the attendance numbers. And we have seen a tendency of we had this event X and 300 total people came. Well, we really want to know how many parents came, or guardians, parents, grandparents, other guardians, because, you know, we had this event and we have 100 kids in our program and we had a total of 200 people. Is 100 of those the kids that you made come? So try to delineate that by counting them, having that sign-in sheet so you know.
Yeah, even somebody standing at the door with a little clicker, just counting parents as they come in. There's lots of ways, but try to get an accurate, as close as you can, an accurate number of just parents or guardians.
And in your discussion section, talk about your parent volunteers.
Yes.
I know a lot of parents volunteer. Some of them simply help kids get on the bus. Some of them come into the classroom and read and actually assist with the learning that's going on. Talk about that in your discussions, because that's really good to brag on your parents and how well they're helping. And a lot of you have an advisory committee or even a board that runs the program. Talk about the parents that are on that. You know, our parents are so involved that they are on this advisory committee that helps us come up with ways to improve our program.
Yeah.
So talk about that quite a bit. Now, these two really smart guys said that evaluation is more than just statistics. Anecdotal data, also called qualitative data, is important. Y'all may have seen us before talk about the head and the heart of an evaluation. We just finished talking to y'all about the head, about all those stats.
Yeah.
How many kids came, how many parents there were, how many partners, how much money the partners give. That's all nice stats. But some people, when they look at your evaluation and make decisions, those numbers are important, maybe important, but they don't care. They want to know the heart of your program.
Yeah.
How do the kids feel about it? What do the parents feel about it? Do the teachers think it's a success? Those types of things. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. And, you know, qualitative data can be a lot of things. Pictures.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's best to have pictures of students engaged in activities rather than just, you know, a group picture of everybody standing in front of the sign in the school.
Yeah. Now, that's okay to put that in your local evaluation.
Right.
But for the state evaluation, we would prefer to have more pictures of students engaged in learning activities.
Right. And quotes are really powerful sometimes. Yes. So really do those. We talked about earlier having parents sign in for events. You know, if you go to a museum or a lot of any kind of exhibit, sometimes there'll be a place to sign in, and then there's a line for quotes or impressions.
Yeah.
You might consider doing that so you can get those parents to fulfill those quotes out. And of course, you know, it's great to get parent quotes. What do your teachers think of the program? And what are the teachers and the staff of the program thinking about it? What are administrators? And I know it's difficult, but it's better to have quotes that are specific and not general, like
everybody loves
the program. This is a great program, but more specific, like, you know, it's great the way the program attends to each student's individual needs. That's getting into a more specific thing on
or
that.
My kid, well, you'll see some. We've got some examples in a minute.
And success stories are important because they're showing, here's how successful we are. And sometimes in a direction you don't think, you know, I meet old people that I used to teach back in the day, and they tell me things that I did that had nothing to do with what they learned or the subject, but they really said that changed the way I thought about things. So those stories are good. Let's look at some examples. Let's look at some pictures. Here's some pictures. There's some students obviously paying attention, looking. There's an adult there. We don't know if that's a teacher or a volunteer or a partner, those kind of things. It's also important to put captions on your picture so we know what it is. Here's one of a student working on a robotics deal. Here's some students engaged in a physical activity. And of course, here's some students playing chess. Very important.
Yes.
And you'll notice our hint, take hundreds of pictures. We did a little research. A professional photographer, if they're trying to take a picture that's going to be used on the cover of a magazine.
Mhm.
They actually sometimes take thousands of pictures just to get one good one.
Yeah, and I will give you an example, if you will. My younger brother, Steve, lives down in Brownsville, and since retiring from the newspaper business, he is an avid nature photographer, lots of birds and so forth. And last time I talked to him, he said he had about 300,000 images, and he's having trouble trying to figure out about deleting any of them. But he takes just tons of them and then picks out the few that he thinks look the best to share with those of us that follow along with him.
Yeah.
And so I can tell you, yeah, take lots of them. The more the better, then you can pick and choose which ones to put in your local evaluation.
And it's fairly easy these days since everybody's got a good camera on their phone.
Yeah.
You know, so we like the candid pictures, but you know, there are exceptions to the rule of students engaged in activities. Here's a picture of some students obviously posed, but it's obvious what they're doing. They have some plants. They're working on either a garden or some type of beautification program. They're all happy. They're paying attention. That's a good picture.
And this is where the captions really come in handy for us.
Yes.
So we know what it is that they're participating in and can include that in the state evaluation.
And of course, everybody likes a picture of some cute kids.
Yes.
This was the one that was on the cover of last year's state evaluation. And that's great, but don't have this as the majority of your pictures.
Right.
Because in reality, that could be a picture of some kids in Minnesota or Canada, because we don't know anything about, you know, of course, we'll have a caption on most of them. So that's a good attention getter for someone that likes that heart of your program. But then when they see pictures of kids doing stuff, that just drives the point home.
And we do need I'm sorry.
Go
we
ahead.
do need the captions because we need to make the evaluation 508 compliant, which means there has to be some text behind each one of the pictures in the state evaluation for those who are visually impaired. And so we need those captions about what's going on, what's the picture about, what are the kids doing, so forth. So we appreciate all of you doing that. You just don't know.
Yeah. Another thing about pictures is sometimes we get pictures. There's some things that y'all do that have been done in the past we don't like for you to do. Don't stretch the pictures.
Yes.
Or rotate the pictures, or make the pictures a collage, all one giant picture with 5 or 6 pictures in it. That just makes it tough for us to pick out good ones out of there, and we have to do some steps to get to them. Blurry pictures don't work too well either. You know, nobody wants to look at a blurry picture. So those type of things are, you know, those are photographer things rather than 21st century learning program problems. But, you know.
That's why if you take a lot of pictures, then you can pick out the best ones.
That's right. Let's look at some examples of some quotes that we personally like. Here's some student quotes. I like the staff feel they respect me. We see that quite a lot.
Yes.
You know, those type of things, these type of student quotes. My favorite student quote is the teachers here like me.
Yes.
You know, that says a lot about that kid. Evidently, they don't feel liked anywhere else, and they come to the program and they feel that way. And some parent deals, you know. The second one, we see this kind of thing a lot. My kid didn't really like going to school. Now they're ready every morning because they know they get to go to 21st century, and that's why they're going to school, just to go to the program.
Yeah.
Man, that's powerful. That's powerful. And here's somebody that not only it's so important they would pay money. That you know. And here's some other quotes from some staff members, getting more to the nitty gritty of it.
And one thing too, please, we don't need the names of people that you got the quotes from.
Yeah.
Just who they are. Are they staff? Are they students?
Yeah.
Are they teachers?
Administrators,
So forth.
principals. And here's some partner quotes. We've noticed partners have a tendency to brag on their partner, brag on what they do.
Yeah.
But this kind of thing is really good right here. So it's just some examples of some nice quotes.
Yeah, these are ones from evaluations, local evaluations. So I'll give you an idea, some examples.
So let's talk about some success stories.
Yes. And
You know, the success stories sometimes are really, really long, and that limits how many we can put into the state evaluation. So we tried to find some that were a little shorter to show y'all.
Yeah.
This one about a kid that built the planetary drive. You know, this one's a little bit long, but it's not half a page long.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's an example of a student that was having basically some behavioral problems. And because of the staff and what they chose for him to do, ended up being successful. And this is one, you know, these kids hated school, but now they go just so they can go to TLC, as I was saying earlier.
Mhm.
And here's a success story that's maybe tied to COVID. I don't think so. I think Youthport does this all the time, but you know, that's just a quick statistic that's really a success story.
yes.
So they've combined qualitative and quantitative data in one quote. That's pretty cool. So, if we may have gone too fast, I'm glad we're recording it. You can look at it again if you want. Let's do a summary. Check your math.
Because the old math teacher here is going to check it for
That's
you.
right. Especially percentages and making sure the attendance numbers match, and make sure that the APR matches the local evaluation and matches the end of year survey. And attendance, you know, you got to put a lot of numbers in there, and we're sorry, but that's what we had to do. And this year you're still doing regular and full total attendance. I think on APR, they even have it split up further. And we realize next year we're going to have these hourly bands, but we'll work on it and have that for you. Try not to leave GEFRA blank. That's important to the feds.
Mm-hmm.
We have another graphic for another training that shows that Congress funds the program. The program gives the money to Vic. Vic has a process where people get the money. Then you put APR data in. The federal people take the APR data and make reports, and then they give it to Congress. So it's a circular deal. So if everybody leaves GEFRA blank, eventually Congress goes, why are we doing this? So it's important to do that just to keep that funding flowing.
And then again, if you have to leave it blank in the discussion, tell us why.
Mm-hmm. Follow your local objectives table. We think it's pretty straightforward, but if you have any questions, if the evaluator has any questions, we're available. Just send us an email.
Mm-hmm.
If you need to talk, we can set up a time to talk.
Sure.
Talk it through, no problem.
Yeah, we can do a Zoom meeting if you want to between us and yourself and your evaluator.
Yep.
You bet.
And your partners, make sure you put them full partial vendor, make sure you have monetary amounts on the full and the partial, and brag on your partners, especially those long-term ones.
Right. Been our partner for 12 years now.
That's right. And on your parents, how many events were there and how many participants broken down? How many parents, guardians came? How many kids came? How many community members came? We have that happen a lot.
Yes.
And I would use the sign-up sheets, and remember at the sign-up sheet, you can get those quotes. And pictures, we're hammering on that, but take lots and lots of pictures.
Yep.
Because they really tell a story in themselves. We have this slide. It's also on the handout where the local evaluation form is. Although this is the 1920, is that going to be in the same spot, Vic? He'll probably fix that for us. And then there's a couple other documents, the monitoring and the evaluator timeline you can look at. Those are all under educateiowa.gov. So if you just go to educateiowa.gov, they'll tell you what you can find. You'll find all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Vic,
So I'm going to hop in here real quick, guys, because we did make updates to the template.
Good.
Yeah.
And I sent that to Vic. So I assume that he will be getting that up on the department website, but
Cool.
You can also find it there. I just dropped it into the chat under grant info. It is in the template section. And if you're having trouble, you can always reach out to me and I can give you a more direct link to it.
Perfect. And we appreciate all the hard work y'all are doing. You know, I know we're doing the state evaluation, but in reality, y'all are doing all the hard work and we're just putting it all together.
Right.
And we, you know, I don't know about Rusty, but I tear up sometimes reading some of the stories and stuff. So we really appreciate y'all. Have any questions, contact us and we'll do everything we can to assist you. And now, are there any questions on anything?
Let's stop the recording before we take questions.
Okay.